So in order to start using your pH meter, you're going to need to make sure that you have a couple things ready. The first thing you'll want is obviously a pH meter. You're going to want one beaker to use for waste. You'll want 2 more beakers to fill with buffer solution. You'll need 1 more beaker filled with water to place the probe in while it is not in use. You'll want to do this to make sure that you don't damage the probe by letting it dry out. And finally, you'll need a squirter bottle filled with distilled water, or in this case, deionized water as indicated by the white tap. In order to start measuring pH, you'll need to calibrate your meter first. You'll want to start off by removing the cap from the probe as shown here. You also want to make sure that you push that cap as far up the stem as you can. Then, you'll want to make sure that you clean off all of the storage solution that the probe was in by rinsing the probe with the water from your squirter bottle. And you'll want to make sure all that water goes into your waste container and not any other beaker. Once the probe's clean, you'll want to place the probe into the pH 7 buffer solution and start to calibrate by using the display. Press the button labeled Sensors, then Calibration, then CH1 pH1, Calibrate Now, and make sure that the 1-point calibration is not selected. Then, wait for the voltage to level out and then enter in pH 7. Next, you'll want to start calibrating for pH buffer solution number 4. Rinse off your probe, making sure that all of the rinse water goes into the waste beaker. Repeat the same steps that you used to calibrate for pH buffer 7, but for pH 4. Make sure that after you've calibrated your pH meter, you're not leaving it out to dry or leaving it in the pH buffer solution. You'll want to make sure that you leave your probe inside your distilled water beaker. You don't plan on immediately using your pH probe. A buffer solution is basically a solution that can resist any sort of change to its pH, whether you add an acid or a base. That means it can be used to neutralize something. Now, to start actually using your pH meter, you'll want to make sure that you take a clean probe, place it into the solution that you want to measure the pH, and then watch until the pH levels out. Once you get a pH that is relatively level, you can record in your notebook. It's important to note that before you actually start recording in your notebook, you place the probe inside the distilled water. This will ensure that the probe does not dry out. Once you're done reading your pHs and you've recorded everything in your notebook, you're probably ready to clean up. What you'll want to do is take your probe out of your distilled water and make sure that it is clean. Once you realize that it's clean, you can place it into the storage solution that you had previously taken it out of and close the cap. Once the cap is closed and the pH meter is turned off, it's ready for storage. And just like that, you're as cool as this guy because you know how to use a pH meter.